Welcome back, everybody. It's the real Big Three on In This League, and I am joined by my friendo, as always, Dan Bespris, at Dan Bespris on the Twitter machine. Jonas is out. I clearly insulted him too much. Don't care for his opinion at all. So he is gone. And I said, you know what? Let's just get rid of the Roto World factor this week. Let's go all hoop ball and ITL. So let's bring in our friendo, Adam King, at Adam King 91 on the Twitter machine. Adam, what is going on? Welcome to the real Big Three. Finally, we've been trying to make this happen for a while.
We have. It's a bit of a dream. I'm happy to be here. No. Look, it was happy to get the call up. It's been a bit of a short preparation, but I'm sure we can fumble our way through things.
Bogman, you know this. That's similar to minor league baseball.
Right. It's the call up. Well, I was thinking it's not a 6-man, it's a 4th man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's getting the call up to but this is like the call up from rookie league to low A. Like, this is not the call to the big league.
Come on, we're at least advanced A.
Oh, advanced A. Is that what were the Blaze? Were they
we were high A. Yeah, we were
high A. Okay.
We were advanced. We had, we're like the math, we're like the math kids that took geometry in 8th grade.
This all means nothing to me if you're talking baseball.
There's baseball in Australia.
There is.
We had a number of those guys. We had a kid on one of our Blaze teams that I think played for Adelaide, right? Where are you at, Adam?
I'm in Canberra.
You got a team there, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but come on. It's not basketball, so I don't care.
All right. I've taken us off the rails in the first 2 minutes.
I know they play their home games about a 2-minute walk from my office. So I probably should watch them.
Yeah, it might be the only. I was gonna say it might be the only baseball that anybody gets for. They can't keep pushing it back this year, right?
Our sports are all fine. Ours are all good to go over here.
Yeah. You guys are sitting good. We're wild west. So we're just hoping to get the Super Bowl over here in a couple days. So hopefully that happens. But as look, it's Adam's first time on the show, so we're gonna let you go first, man. So the 3 subjects that we do. So fire away with number 1. What do you got?
All right. So the first one, I came up with these very quickly, and a little bit topical given recent production. So 2 guards who have been very impressive so far over the first, whatever it is, 20 games or so. Fred VanVleet and Malcolm Brogdon. I just thought we could have a bit of a chat about where we see them finishing this season. So currently we've got, and talking in 9-cat language here, we've got VanVleet sitting at 14 and Malcolm Brogdon sitting at 22. So is that sustainable? Where do you see it sort of playing out when everything is said and done?
What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, so Freddie VanVleet is actually a top 3 fantasy player over the last 2 weeks. His last 7 games, he's averaging 23 points, 4 boards, 6 assists. And then the stuff that's really eye-popping, 3.8 combined defensive steals or defensive stats over that stretch, which is unfortunately not sustainable. I mean, he's blocking more shots than he's used to. He's a big steals guy, though. He's always among the league leaders in deflections. So that's a thing that probably sticks. I think they both come off where they're at a little bit. I think Brogdon comes off where he's at more than VanVleet does. Freddie's actually 14th right now. I don't know that he falls outside the top 25 this year. I mean, he was quite close to that last season. Brogdon at 22. Last couple of weeks, he's been more in the 50 to 60 range as his defensive stats come back to kind of where they've been throughout his career. If Indiana ever gets fully healthy is another big question mark, where they are missing at least 1, maybe 2, you could argue, pretty critical usage pieces. So I'll say Brogdon finishes in the 40s and VanVleet finishes in the early 20s.
I mean, that's solid answer. I don't know if I'm going to add anything to what Dan just said. I would say, if you're picking one at their current state who's more believable, I would probably say it is VanVleet. He has been incredible this year. The game the other night where he went absolutely nuts with the 54 points and all that stuff. And really, it's for him, he's doubling his blocks, and I know he's only at 0.7, so it doesn't look like a lot, but he has 15 through the first 21 games, like you said, Adam. And, he had 17 last season. So he's improved that a bunch. Also, almost up a full 2.7 to 3.4, which would be a career high. I don't know that, for both these guys, if their numbers are sustainable, but VanVleet has been, he's been that dude. He's been incredible. So I think, mid 20s, bordering a second to third round pick for FVV. And then like Danny said, for Brogdon, probably in the 40s as well. I'm probably in that same range.
Yeah, look, I think I agree. As you said, Brogdon, they've got LeVert will come back at some point. He's going to be pretty underdone when he does make it back. I think they've sort of said 2 months as a rough time frame, but I guess that's pretty fluid given the reason for his absence.
Right.
It's not a sprained ankle or a sore thumb or anything like that. So, and TJ Warren is sort of similar. I mean, we have a somewhat of a time frame, but they haven't given any real specific details. So, once they're back, I think Brogdon will take a hit. But VanVleet, I mean, we've seen this from him last season, and so yeah, I agree. I think I see him as a back end second round guy, and Brogdon probably are in that 40 to 50 range.
People are getting something special in the video. I'm watching Bogman's screen during Adam. Adam, you probably saw it too, right?
I did.
Yeah. The cat, I just have no control, and it's going to be a problem because next week I'm supposed to be doing some TV from home. So it's my buddy Pizza Pia. He's like, so the cat's not going to jump up on the desk, right? And I'm like, probably not. He's like, we're going to be on TV, man. The cat can't jump up on the desk.
Can you not go like full Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget and start the show with your chair facing backwards and then pivot to reveal you just stroking the cat?
I need to get a hairless one and do the the Dr. Evil.
Oh, that would be
yeah. My cat's hiding at the moment.
By the way, speaking of the video, what is the shirt? We got asked about your shirt, Adam.
That's Jerry Stiller.
Yeah,
it
is. Yeah.
You want a piece of me?
That's pretty solid. That's pretty solid.
That was a Christmas present from my kids. So
They
they know me well.
If anybody wants to send me a Jerry Stiller shirt, I would love one that says Serenity Now on it.
that would yes, that's next.
What's topic number 2, Adam?
Topic number 2 for me was just a general topic, and something that I know has been pretty popular in our Discord channel, and I've had a lot of questions on Twitter. Chris Boucher, what's going on? Where do we see him going from here? Really, I guess it's just a general topic.
Great topic, by the way.
I never really understood the hate for Nick Nurse until this week. And I don't have any shares of Chris Boucher, but I get it. Nick Nurse, a lot of Raptors fans get frustrated with him and stuff. But I mean, him and Kawhi Leonard got the ring. We have our guy Jay in this room with us right now, who's an enormous Raptors fan. But what are they doing with his minutes right now, Dan? It is unbelievably frustrating.
I watch too much Raptors basketball, largely because I have a nanny here until about 5 Pacific time, and a lot of Raptors games start at 4. So I can see the first hour of their games where a lot of the teams, Central, Mountain, and Pacific time, I miss most of them, honestly. I watch like the first hour of basketball and the last 1 to 2 hours at the end of the night when family stuff wedged in between. All that to say, these are growing pains. I mean, he's a tall, lanky kid who's getting pushed around in some spots. And a lot of the big stat games he was putting up were not within the defensive schemes that Toronto was trying to run. He was out of position and just basically on skates, flying all over the floor, blocking shots, and it was awesome, but it wasn't actually good for the Raptors. He was constantly out of position. Guys were getting tip-ins against his guys were freeing up. So this is all part of a learning process. His minutes are down against teams that exploited the stuff he was doing wrong. That said, I don't think we ever really thought he was going to get 30 minutes a game. There are going to be these ebbs and flows. And Adam, this is a great topic because I think you could probably trade for Boucher right now with someone in that, I don't know, 75 to 85 range. And you might be able to get him because he has been a lot worse than that over the last 1 to 2 weeks. So
if 2 weeks, he ranks 200 overall.
Yeah, go get him. Go get him. This is the same if I don't have the names at the ready. I know, Bogman, last week I did a LaMelo Ball would you or wouldn't you trade machine, and then immediately he went bananas the next 2 ball games. I don't know if it's going to be quite so seamless here, but Boucher's going to be good within the next 2 weeks again, and then there will be a little run, and it'll peter out, and it'll probably even out somewhere in that 65 to 75 range. So if you can get him for someone a little bit less than that, I think there's a profit margin there.
Adam, I mean, are you on board with buying him at his low now, or do you want to wait for him to peak again and maybe sell him?
Well, I actually got him off waivers in one league, so someone dropped him.
8-man league, I'm guessing.
No, it was just a 12-team standard sort of league, and he was dropped. I was pretty shocked, but I had the waiver priority because I hadn't used it this season. So, yeah, look, I think from a fantasy perspective, it is very frustrating, and because I do have him on a couple of teams, it's annoying. But I didn't draft him as a top 30 player. I drafted him generally with sort of around pick 100 or 120. So I think our expectations just went way up, and he was playing 30 minutes a game. But if you were actually watching the Raptors play, as Dan said, they weren't winning games. And so Aaron Baines has come in and given them that size and physical presence that they need to match up with some of these other teams. It will be interesting to see. I think they play the Nets next. And so DeAndre Jordan's there, obviously, but Jeff Green has been getting a lot of those center minutes, which is a much better matchup for Boucher. So hopefully he can maybe have a decent game, and then you look to try and sell. But yeah, I mean, looking at his, and I'll do my Jonas here, his per 36 stats, which is really good.
I knew it. Very good, very good. I was wondering if we were going to get a per 36 in here. You're doing Jonas's job. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I had to throw it in. So he's per 36 stats. He's right up there as a first round player. So yeah, per 36, he's at 21 points, basically 10 rebounds, 3.2 blocks, and his percentages are really good. So we know for him, it really just comes down to playing time, and hopefully he's not going to get 30, but he has been getting 15. So hopefully he can just sort of meet in the middle there somewhere and get up to around 20 to 22 minutes. And I think that'll be enough for him to be a top 70, top 80 player.
I mean, per 36 is Miles Turner that scores, right? That's like the numbers you just read off. Very, very similar. So yeah, I mean, hopefully he gets his minutes back, and I think Dan's right. You know, you trade for him now while he's low, because his minutes are going to come back in. So what is number 3 for you, Adam?
So number 3 was, again, it's a general sort of topic, but if we had to pick right now, who would be your most improved player this season? There's a few names that are being thrown up. So talk about one, talk about two, whatever you want to do.
Go ahead, Dan. You pick one first.
Well, so I think a lot of people are going to say Jeremy Grant. I don't know that I'm in full agreement with him as most improved player. I'm definitely in agreement with him as player whose role expanded the most. But we kind of saw that this was in him in Denver last year, especially in the playoffs. He was incredible in the bubble. Personally, I didn't believe that he could sustain it for as long as he has so far this year. So that's been a surprise. But just in terms of, the actual growth of his ability had kind of already happened. It was really more about slotting him into a better role. And I think you could almost make the same argument for Christian Wood, who we knew what he could do if he was given 30 some odd minutes. He's just now finally being given 30 some odd minutes. So in terms of guys to me that have actually improved the most, role helps also. My guy's Deandre Hunter, because to me, he's completely come out of nowhere. He was fine last year, but suddenly he can shoot. He's a slasher. He's dunking. He's hitting his free throws, his shots. He's doing everything on the basketball court. And he didn't do, I mean, this is a Brandon Ingram-like leap where suddenly he's just better in everything. And I totally didn't see that coming. With these other guys, the reason we were able to say that Christian Wood should be drafted at X and Jeremy Grant should be your sleeper guy is because we were like, look, these guys are good. They just never had a chance to flex. DeAndre Hunter, no idea. So he's my pick there for most improved.
That's such a good one because, I mean, you know, I think the answers for a lot of people are going to be, you know, like we just talked about Boucher, Christian Wood, obviously, but they're not really, they're improved stat lines. But if you did the Jonas Nader and looked at their per 36s from last year, then you would see, well, they just needed the minutes. So I really like that DeAndre Hunter one. I think maybe Mikhail Bridges is another pretty decent one, a guy that has bumped his game up a lot, because a lot of the buzz was about Miles Bridges coming into the season, and Mikhail did it too. They're twins. We should expect it, but
I don't think they're related, are they? I thought they were.
No, I thought they were twins. They're not twins.
I don't think they're related.
Did I just make that up?
Yeah, I don't think they're related.
I thought they were like the Lopez brothers, you know, they're okay. So they're just guys with the same last name. I honestly thought they were related. So
I actually thought they were related when they came into the league also, because they both have the M first name and the same. And parents love to do that where they have the same letter for all the kids' names. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, it's a total coincidence. How unusual.
Yeah. It's always weird when you see a guy and it's like, oh, his cousin is whoever who used to play, 10 years ago. And you're like, oh, I never knew that. And that comes into my mind. I never knew that, but I just always put it together that the Bridges were brothers. I don't know why. So,
well, like Lance and Lance Stevenson, the brothers who have the same name, just spelled differently. That's my favorite. That's real. This is real. Please, someone look this up. His brother is Lantz, Lance Stevenson, of course, Oh, my mic down so you guys don't hear screaming in the back.
I'm glad our guy Giannis here in the chat says that he thought they were twins as well, so I don't feel as stupid, but that is something I definitely should have known. But anyway, Mikhail Bridges will be my embarrassing pick. Adam, who
That's
do you
a good
think
one,
is
by the way. Back to the actual analysis, and then Adam can do his. Mikhail is a really good one because he has stepped up his offensive aggression a lot this year.
I think CP3 just makes everybody better. Wherever he goes, he makes players better.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think the sexy picks are going to be the names like Christian Wood and Jeremy Grant. But DeAndre Hunter was one that I had in mind. Simply because no one saw this coming. I think with Bridges, he's a good candidate as well. But we actually sort of called this last year or last season because in the bubble, he was a lot more aggressive offensively with no Kelly Oubre there. So there were sort of signs that he was going to be this good this season. And so I don't know. I don't know whether he would fit into the category because his numbers aren't off the chart, but Nicholas Batum is an interesting one. He's not going to get it, but he's gone from not even playing to being a 30-minute a night player on a championship quality team. So he's an interesting one.
That's got to be like most re-improved.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. Because Batum was good and that, peaks and valleys for him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's by the way, that's a great example of what can happen to a player when they go to a spot where they care. I feel like you could see it with a Blake Griffin also. Like get a guy onto a team where he gives even two flying you-know-whats. I know Blake Griffin's a little bit cooked, but like we thought about Nick Batum. He was playing 30 minutes a game and doing nothing. And now he's like, oh, I'm going to go do stuff again.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, Miles and Mikhail Bridges, same height, both in 2018.
I know.
I'm looking it up here because I'm embarrassed. But yeah, I mean, so I definitely was not the only one that thought that. So
No, definitely not. I 100% thought it when and you know how little I pay attention to rookies. So I thought it for like a year.
Right. I thought you just figured out who they were this year. I thought that's what it was.
I pretty much. Although doing this show with you guys keep yelling at me to learn who rookies are. So if I keep making the joke, who's that?
Well, this year you should. There's some good ones.
There are actually some good ones beyond their years. Tyrese Halliburton looks like he's a 5-year vet already.
Oh, I got him in my subject, so we're gonna talk about him. I didn't mean to cut you off, Adam. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Well, Halliburton, I don't know if he can be a most improved player because he's been really good, and no one really thought he'd be this good. The only guy, so one other guy that I had quickly and yet to be proven, but Zion. I don't know whether Zion will be in that discussion. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think he's a top 30 player sort of over the last couple of weeks with his improvements in free throws and defense. And that's all he needed to pick up on. It was talked about a lot during the preseason. If he can get some defensive stats and edge his way up towards 70% from the free throw line, then he moves straight into that sort of second, third round discussion.
Yeah, and I don't know if the correlation is exactly right, but I brought him up a couple weeks ago as, he was starting to improve a little, and I said, is he going to finish more towards this number or in the 100s? And we all thought 100s, and he has not slowed down at all. He has been great. What's that?
He listened. He heard everyone.
Yeah.
Talk.
That's exactly what my hypothesis is he was one of the few listeners of this show and went, you know what? I'm going to improve because Bogman and Dan don't like me, so that's exactly what it was. So,
well, you're welcome, Pels fans.
Yeah, exactly. It's all from Bogman and Dan. But was that 3? Is that everything for you, Adam?
That's 3. Yep.
All right, Danny, you're up. What's first?
All right, let's see. What the heck do I have at the top of my thing? My first one actually is sort of a longer one, so maybe I'll go to my number 2, and it's rookies because make fun of me about rookies here, and I'm forcing myself to pay attention to them. I want to talk a little bit about Denny Avdia and Anthony Edwards, in that one of them has moved into the starting lineup. We don't know if it's permanent in Minnesota, but it does seem like it's injected a little bit of life into the Timberwolves. I would like to get both of your guys' opinion on kind of the trajectory of the seasons for both of these guys. Because with Avdia, you can see this kind of well-rounded stat set, but not much in the way of usage. And there's sort of 2 Mondo usage guys standing in his way in Washington. And then with Edwards, that's a Wolves team that's just not good. He's the number 1 overall pick. To me, they kind of have to eventually force feed him a little bit. I see the arrow kind of pointed up for these guys, but how long does it take to get there? So, Adam, I'll go to you first on this one. I guess I'll start us around the clock here. What do you think? Are either of these guys worth having right now? Edwards obviously starting here. And then do they move into value? How long does it take? All that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, starting with Edwards, I guess he's starting now, and he's been pretty good since he moved into that starting role. But the Wolves, obviously, they don't have Towns on the floor. They don't have Culver on the floor. As you said, they basically, they have to give him minutes because he's the number 1 pick. They haven't had a great track record when it comes to draft picks, so they really need to try and make this one work. I'm just not sure in terms of fantasy value. I think he's a little bit empty for me. So he can score and he does some pretty flashy dunks and that sort of thing. But I don't know whether he brings enough to the table to be sort of a solid, like a surefire top 80 player or anything like that. I think he'll be a standard league guy for the rest of the season, but I don't see him sort of fully breaking out, other than he might go for 35 points in a game or something like that. But he's not going to hit 7 threes and pick up 4 steals and 2 blocks and that sort of stuff. So for me, that's where he's at. Avdia, I haven't watched a lot of the Wizards games, to be honest. It's hard to watch all of them, and I actually thought that he would be a guy that could come on late if they trade away Bradley Beal. But I mean, Beal sounds as though he wants to be in Washington. I mean, whether you believe his words or his actions, because watching him on the bench, it doesn't look like he wants to be in Washington. But yeah, I think I would need a little bit more to change in Washington for Avdia to be someone that I would be targeting. I think the skill set, and as you said, he's very well rounded, so he can contribute across the board. But we sort of need to see. I mean, we haven't even really seen Washington play at full strength for a month because of COVID. So where he fits in the rotation when they've got everyone on the floor, that's a bit of a question mark as well.
Yeah, I think the one thing that Denny has is that, you know, he is starting. He's played in 14. He started 14. So that's nice. Saunders has those weird rotations. We're all upset about Vanderbilt right now. So I don't really know what's going on in Minnesota and when it'll change next. It seems like the drop of a hat. Saunders is just messing with all those. But you're absolutely right. Beal being gone would help him out a lot because Beal and Westbrook are just vacuums for everything. You know, they take pretty much everything away. They make everyone else on the team less valuable, specifically Westbrook. I mean, we all know that. He's done it for years and years. So I'm with you. I like Denny. I think he's going to be the more consistent guy. And with Edwards, it's going to be up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. But you really, at the end of the day, I think can't really trust Edwards. So if I'm picking one of these guys, I'd rather stick with Denny and see what he has and hope that Washington maybe trades Beal.
Yeah, I think if you can carve out a spot, you probably try to do it for potentially both of them. But you also have to be aware that there is this sort of time, like right at this exact moment, Anthony Edwards is probably the safer play because he's getting the usage as a starter, and with Avdia, he's buried behind Russ and Beal. But yeah, his upside does appear to be more interesting at this exact moment. I'm pasting 5 center names into our little video private chat, and I'll read them out loud. They are Time Lord, Nerlens Noel, Kelly Olynyk, Ivica Zubac, and Maxi Kleber. And this is what I'm calling centers who can get fantasy stats in not that many minutes. Name pending, because it's not very good. Boston's down a few bodies right now, namely Marcus Smart. He's sort of the big minutes guy that's out for more than just a day-to-day thing. Nerlens Noel seems to be playing his way back into Tom Thibodeau's good graces. He's settled more in that 18 to 22-minute range lately. He had a big off-the-bench performance in their loss to Chicago. That was a couple games back. Kelly Olynyk looks more comfortable with Jimmy Butler back. It sort of moved everybody into their traditional roles. Ivica Zubac is at 21 minutes over his last 2 weeks, which I don't think he did over any 2-week stretch last year. And then Maxi Kleber, 30-plus minutes in the Mavs win over the Hawks yesterday. So, Bogman, you get to go first on this one. Who do you like among these guys? Because there are a few there that I think I'm picking up almost immediately.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with Time Lord, Robert Williams, and Maxi Kleber. I think those are the safest guys out of these two because, you know, Kleber's going to get minutes and he'll put up stats even in limited minutes. And Robert Williams, you know, he's a good player. This is coming from a Texas fan saying about an Aggie. So he is a fun player to watch, and he gets all the stuff and things, the steals and the blocks and the boards in limited minutes. I would really like to see them open him up, but, you know, it's not going to happen quite yet. Noel is probably third for me on this list. And I love Noel. We all love Noel. We just want a consistent, like 28 minutes, and he's just never going to get it. It's just never going to happen for him. So he is a up and down guy that you love to have at the end of your bench, because if he goes off, he really does go off. So I love owning him. I think Kelly Olynyk would be next on my list. Like you said, better with Jimmy, but still not scoring in double digits. Is very, very inconsistent and frustrating to own. And I feel like he can put it together. So I'm telling you, I'm saving everyone by not picking him up anywhere, because whenever I own him, it goes back to being terrible every single time. So I don't want any part of him. And then Zubac's last. He had a big game against the Cavs the other night, but it's because they were playing that big lineup. So I don't really want to mess with Zubac that much. So if I had to put him in order, it would be Williams, Kleba, Noel, Kellyo, and Zubats.
So for me, it sort of comes down a little bit to whether you are treating them as more of a stash or more of a sort of a produce now kind of thing. Because I think quite a few of them. So Time Lord, Zubats a little bit as well. They're a little bit dependent on who they're playing. So they're going to get more minutes against certain teams. They're going to get fewer minutes against other teams. Whereas I think Kleba, Olynyk, and Noel to some degree as well, their roles are set. Olynyk is someone that obviously he got pretty hot a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and we sort of push hard for everyone to go and pick him up. And then, as you said, when you do pick him up, he does nothing. So he cooled off pretty quickly, and I've sort of been preaching that you need to wait for the Heat to get everyone back before you make a call on Olynyk. And he has looked a little bit better the last couple of games, but he doesn't have that upside of someone like Robert Williams or Noel. So if you're sort of stashing them and you're fine with low minutes for now, then I would be sort of looking at Robert Williams and Nerlens Noel. And then a couple of other names which you don't have on there, which sort of crossed my mind when you talked about this topic.
Yeah, could have been Boucher too, who you were talking about earlier.
Oh, Boucher, Cody Zeller might be another one. He's still on waivers in a few of my leagues. So Cody Zeller, and then Jakob Poeltl as well, who went off yesterday with Aldridge, and we don't know how long Aldridge is going to be out and whether they'll ever actually move Poeltl into the starting lineup permanently. But he's similar to these guys; he can put up numbers in a hurry. And we saw yesterday he was really good yesterday. So just another couple of names to sort of throw into the mix a little bit.
Yeah, I love it. It's a beautiful list. I love it because you can make a list like this almost every year about 6 weeks into the season, and I think it's something we all need to, at least me personally, and maybe other people have already done this, but I'm going to make a mental note of this, and I might even make a physical note of this, because on draft day next year, when I'm staring down the barrel of my 8th or 9th round pick, and I'm like, oh, I only got one center on my team, I'm probably still going to go take another guard at that point, because there have not been many guards popping up on the waiver wire this year. I think TJ McConnell might be the best guard option that's surfaced. Really, like legitimately,
yeah, you're right.
Pass first, those types of stats, and he doesn't even shoot the 3 ball. That's popped up on the waiver wire in like the last 3 weeks. Meanwhile, these guys we all just talked about, including Poeltl, including Cody Zeller, that's 7 centers that have been on and off of teams that all look like they could be top 100-ish or even a little bit better. They're just waiting for you because nobody has the patience to stick with them. If we're going to just talk about the names on our list right now, mine is a little bit different than you guys. I know I'm geared more heavily towards Roto, which I think does steer that discussion. Nerlens Noel is actually my top guy right now. It seems like he's settled in. I've been watching some Knicks games. He's more comfortable with their second unit now. He's kind of figured out how they play defensively, where he needs to be, and the defensive stats are coming around as a result. That's stuff that sort of the reason that we had him. And he was able to go top 75 in 18 and a half minutes last year, and he's been closer to 20-ish recently this year. So that's actually a reasonable target. Time Lord could fly by that if he got more than 18 minutes, but I don't think he ever will, at least not this season. Zubats, Kleba, Olynyk, those guys are probably all going to hang around that 100 to 120 range almost definitely. Kleba has the upside among that group should his minutes really stick. But Dwight Powell, he'll come and go from their lineup, and we know Rick Carlisle loves to mix and match. So this is, I think, a really interesting footnote. Late round centers are abundant these days. And I don't know how many years this lasts, but it's a couple of years running now. And I think maybe that's the lesson from all of this. And my last topic, or no, that was my second one. My last topic is a little trade machine, because last week I went deep with Bogman, with you and Jonas, on what you would pay for LaMelo Ball. And I'm guessing you guys might, and I can bug Jonas off air, I guess, but Bogman, are you now in Camp Dan, where I would have traded every one of those guys for him?
Every
I don't remember what we talked about though.
yeah. Well, since he's starting now, Rozier got banged up. Yeah, I mean, what did he get? 38 minutes the other night? It was insane. So
Yeah, he's a beast.
yeah, LaMelo has been incredible. Like, LaMelo is one of those few guys that we'll talk about the rookie wall in a second when we get to my stuff, but I don't know. He seems like he might blow right through it. So we'll see. He looks like a stud right now.
So this week I decided to go the opposite side because last week I was yelling about buying LaMelo with anything you could find, and I used you guys as guinea pigs. So this week, Adam and Bogman, you are my guinea pigs for a selling expedition on Joel Embiid, who's been incredible so far this year. He's number 5 in 9-cat leagues. Field goal percent way up since Doc Rivers told him to get his butt down near the bucket more often. 84% at the free throw line on extraordinarily high volume. He's played 17 games, missed a couple, but nothing obscene so far. And that's sort of the point. He has not had the out for 2 weeks, out for 3 weeks thing that he's had every single year of his career, whether or not he's on wood win. I mean, I don't know if it makes any difference what I do when I talk about Joel Embiid. I feel like if I knocked on wood, it would cause the same stuff to happen that always happens. So I'm going to do the opposite and hope he stays healthy, but also kind of understand that he probably won't. So to you gentlemen, I say, I'm offering you both Joel Embiid, and I'm going to ask for particular players back. And I would like to know if you guys would take my Joel Embiid and give me back the player that I'm asking for. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready. Yep. Let's go.
Okay. I'll try to alternate who has to answer first on this thing, but I might screw it up because my brain is hot mush. Damian Lillard, Bogman, Adam, in that order. Would you guys give me Dame back for Joel Embiid?
I would not. I'm a known Joel Embiid hater, by the way. I don't look. He's missed only 5 games so far, and if you look at his totals, he's still like I think 13 overall, so he's still amazing. But I would take Dame.
Same here. I would take Lillard. I think Lillard's about as consistent as a fantasy player as you'll find. So, yep, Lillard.
Okay. I'm asking for too much. Okay, I'll take it one click down. Adam, would you give me back Bradley Beal for my Joel Embiid? I'm going to try to make this too.
I probably wouldn't.
You keep Beal,
but I could really make a case that would be acceptable. I think that's very fair. I just really love what Beal's doing at the moment, and again, Embiid, his injuries just scare me a little bit too much.
I hate to be that guy on this question, but that really depends on what your team construction is and what you need. I mean, the same for Lillard, if we're looking in a vacuum, but yeah, because of the missed games, I'm not giving up Beal. I'm keeping Beal.
All right.
Actually, I think on the Beal one, I think with Lillard, it's not as much of a grey area, but with Beal, it might actually depend where you got him in the draft, because if you got Beal as a late second round guy, which you might have because people were down on him, then you may very well have someone like Steph Curry on your team already. And so if that's the case, then maybe you would trade Beal because you've got Curry to fall back on a little bit. If you took Beal at pick 10 or pick 12 or something, then he's probably your main guy. So you probably don't want to give him up.
I get the feeling you guys are telling me I should be asking you about centers. Not
No. I mean, you're in the same. This is the draft range, right? I mean, right. Lillard was higher, but Beal and Embiid were going very close to each other. So I think that's fair.
What about, let me give you a wing then. How about Paul George? Would you give me back Paul George for Joel Embiid? I guess Bogman, you first on this.
That one's closer, but I think I still want Paul George. I'm so afraid. I'm playing so many head-to-head leagues. I'm so afraid of Embiid getting banged up or hurt enough to miss games down at the end of the season. So, I look, Paul George has had a sordid injury history as well. So, but I think I would stick with George.
probably very similar to the Beal one, because Paul George was another player that fell in drafts, and I know, Dan, you were really high on him coming into the season, but he was going in the late teens in a lot of drafts. And so if you got Paul George with the 19th pick, then that means you probably had the 5th or 6th pick in the draft. So you may have Kawhi Leonard there, or you might have Lillard or someone. So maybe if Paul George was not your main player, then yes, I might consider that.
Adam, I'll come back to you on this one. It's a similar player who's not putting up quite as great a numbers as Paul George, but kind of built similarly, and that's Jason Tatum. Would it be easier for me to pull Tatum away from you? Or same? You can just say same if it's same.
Yeah, look, that one's probably closer because Tatum was a first round player this season. So in drafts, he was going at pick 10, 11, 12. So yeah, look, I think I'd probably give up George before I gave up Tatum.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would give up George before I gave up Tatum too. Let me throw one at you guys. What if you need depth? Would you be willing to deal Embiid for like Rashawn Holmes and a guard? You know what I mean? Like, would you be willing to take 2 lower tier players to trade Joel Embiid, even though he's playing, so unbelievably well right now? He ranks 6. Is that something you would be willing to do? Dan? No, not at all. What do you think, Adam?
I mean, not in a 12-teamer, no.
Yeah, I don't think so. It would depend who the guard was. I'd probably consider it and have a look at it and do the math, but probably not. I think I'd stick with Embiid.
Gotcha. I think I might be willing to do that. I don't own Joel Embiid anywhere, so I'm not like blowing my own spot up. I'm not going to get flooded with offers or anything. So, but I think I might be willing to do that, especially if I'm like, on outside the playoffs looking in right now. I think I'd be willing to take a bit of a downgrade at center and an upgrade somewhere else for what I need. To move Embiid. I think that's the most likely deal I'm going to do, because I'm so afraid of the missed games for Embiid. So I don't think there's going to be too many 1-for-1s that I would do for Embiid.
Yeah, what I'm learning from you guys right now is that Embiid remains a pretty tough guy to move, even while having arguably the best season we could have ever imagined him having to this point. So I think the lesson then is he needs to do this for a couple more weeks without being hurt and then try it again. We might run the same exact exercise 2 weeks from today, and we might have different answers. Really?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, you're right. Especially if he misses no games in that stretch.
Right.
If he misses no games, then everyone's going to be buying way more. I mean, I'll even start, I love watching him play, but I hate, and this is across all formats. The injury prone stuff drives me absolutely crazy. I'll never draft Steven Strasburg in baseball. I'm not going to take Joel Embiid too often in basketball. And there's plenty of guys in football. They all get hurt in football.
There's a team in one of my leagues that drafts Embiid and Miles Turner every year, and for like 4 years running, they've just been getting obliterated. And this year, they're crushing us,
leading by 10 games at least. Right?
Shout out to Team Rachel or whatever the hell her team's name is. She is dominating us right now. Sick. All right, I'm done.
Oh, that's it for you? Okay.
That's me.
Well, if you're listening on the podcast, we're going to take a quick break. And if you are watching on the video, we are going to go right into it. All right, guys. So my first question is Jokic the real number 1 player? If we did a draft today, right now, Dan, would you take Jokic as a number 1 player? Because that's where he ranks. We're always worried about that ramp up time, but he didn't have that this year. He got right back into it. So if you are drafting a team today for the rest of the year, is Jokic your first pick?
Yeah, he is. I mean, I'd love to come up with a great argument for why not, but he's been number 1 from day 1 this year. And incredibly, the only guy who's even close is Kawhi Leonard. Those two are head and shoulders above everybody else in the NBA right now. Kawhi playing back-to-backs has obviously been colossal. even as Jokic has seen his assists slip a tiny bit, his scoring has gone up to compensate. There's no hole in his game at the moment. And, we don't know what the future holds. Is there going to be any kind of slowdown here? It's quite possible. But yeah, the answer is yes. He's been incredible. He hasn't had that month and a half to get himself into game shape. And so, instead of the top 60 Jokic in October and November that gets mushed in with a top 5 Jokic the rest of the way, he's just top 5 right from the get-go. He doesn't jump, so his durability is stellar. I love it. He's number 1. Congrats if you took him early this year, because I didn't. I did get him in one place at 6 or 7, I think, and he's been incredible.
Yeah, he's been great. I did like that. He said, "I don't think LeBron can jump as high as me." That was pretty funny the other night. But
and he's witty. I like that too.
Right. By the way, speaking of witty, our guy Jay just hit us with the Embiid's getting a rest night tonight. So
well, we knew that was coming.
It makes sense.
Look who they're playing tonight. The Blazers are missing their entire starting 5.
Yeah, it's time to take a day off. Yeah. Adam, is Jokic your number 1 also?
No. I wouldn't. He'd be close. He'd be in the discussion, but the other guy that Dan alluded to there would be my number 1. I would be taking Kawhi at number 1.
Nice.
Knowing what we know now, that he's going to play in back-to-backs, I just love watching him play, and he's another guy that doesn't really jump that much. He doesn't need to. He gets to that mid-range spot, and he's just sort of unstoppable. So, yeah, I think it would be Kawhi for me, and Curry would be the other guy that I would have in the discussion there.
Yeah. Curry's been incredible. Yeah, I think Jokic would be my number 1 right now. He's just been too good. I mean, 8 cat, I don't even think it's an argument. But 9 cat, you can argue. I think you can, because Kawhi is 2 right now. Even with the 4 games he's missed, he's 2. So he has been absolutely great. The next thing I wanted to ask you guys about is the aforementioned Tyrese Haliburton. He's ranked 52 right now, but and he just had a big game last night too. Is it time to trade him before he hits the rookie wall? Do we think the rookie wall is less impactful this year because nobody got ramp up time? So maybe everyone's going to hit a little bit of a wall. So maybe that isn't as much of a thing this year. And these rookies this year have been great. So Adam, I'll start with you on Haliburton. Would you want to deal him now, or do you want to hang on to him for the rest of the year?
Yeah, look, I think it's, if you were going to try and move on from him, I think now is the time after last night's game. But I probably wouldn't. Maybe that's just because I love what he does. I think he's quickly become my second favorite player behind Brandon Clark. I don't know if he'll ever take that mantle, but yeah. And look, as you said, I think a lot of the players, no one had a ramp up this season, so. I don't think he's a 52nd ranked player at the moment, so I don't think he finishes that high. But I just there's not the uncertainty that you get with a lot of rookies isn't really there with him. I mean, I think his role is pretty secure. They're a much better team with him on the floor. I mean, Brew tweets about it all the time with his Kings tweets and that sort of thing. He's always talking about how much better they look with Haliburton on the floor. So, yeah, look, if I was selling, I would be making sure I'm getting a top 50 player back. I just don't know if anyone's going to give you a top 50 player for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that last thing that Adam said is probably the most prescient among it. You're probably not going to get the value back that you should for someone who's been as good as he has. And it's the poise for Haliburton that to me has been such a driver of his value, because he's not leaping off the page in any one particular thing. His field goal percent has been pretty good. His free throw percent has been pretty good. Turnover is pretty low. Steals have been decent. Assists have been decent. 3-point shooting's been pretty good. He's just quietly been very productive. Darren Fox doing so much late in ball games lately for the Kings has been nice. I think for Haliburton allows him to be a little bit more off ball. Sometimes he can facilitate. He's in a really good spot. And every day that goes by, he outplays Corey Joseph. So I'm not trading him unless you get something back. I don't know if I would aim for top 50. I might even take something inside the top 65 or 70, but I don't think you're even getting that back right now. So you probably need kind of the same story as Joel Embiid. You almost just need a little bit more evidence of something going well, and then you can get the value back that you're looking for there. But he's been really good.
Yeah, as far as like fantasy goes, he's like, a lot like, he reminds me of Chris Middleton, someone that's like on that border of, he can be really good, really, really good, but he doesn't get a ton of respect. So hopefully that is going to switch for him coming up here soon. My last one is, and I was kind of disappointed in this because Oladipo's always been one of my favorite players to watch, and he got traded to my Rockets in this big, James Harden deal and all that stuff. And they've won 6 in a row up until that Oklahoma City blowout last night. So they've been looking good, and now they're thinking about maybe moving Oladipo. So I'm not really happy about this, but Dan, what's a good landing spot for Oladipo that you can think of?
Honestly, I hadn't, full disclosure here, I hadn't really thought that much about it. I have this, I think they may end up keeping him. I know that they're talking about it and they have to be looking at what they can acquire and trying to sort of recoup assets that have gone away over the years. I think he's going to be there this season at the very least. I might be totally off on this one. I don't know what team is going to go mortgage things for Oladipo right now, unless they were planning on kind of beginning to build around him, because he's in this weird in-between pocket of his career where he's very good, but he's not a guy that's going to take you to a championship by himself. So you can't just go give up everything for Oladipo. And also, if you're a very good to great team, is he the guy that puts you over the hump? Like, is he the guy that Denver falls back to if they can't get Bradley Beal, or Miami falls back to if they can't get Bradley Beal? Is that what Oladipo becomes this year? The Beal fallback option? Any of those teams he goes to would be bad for him. He'd be slotting into a sort of an existing format where, at least with Houston, it was like, here, take James Harden's spot on the floor. That's a pretty gravy spot to be in. So not that many, I think, is my answer, are good landing spots where I think he could legitimately end up, because the teams that have usage to spare probably aren't giving up assets for Victor Oladipo. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does, and I hope you're right, because I love Oladipo. So, Adam, your thoughts? Do you think Oladipo gets moved, and is there a specific spot you see as realistic, or maybe a spot you'd want to see him go?
No, look, I think I had written down here exactly what Dan just said about I think I think if teams can't get Beal, they go after Oladipo. I don't see him being moved. I think the Rockets have looked pretty good since Harden left. I think that this playing unit are sort of forming a nice combination on the court. And then, I mean, as Dan said, if he goes to any of those teams, his value doesn't increase. So he would need to go to a team that where he could just do whatever he wants. And I just don't see any teams out there that would be looking to get him on board, unless it was something like he went to Washington and Beal left, and Washington sort of then had some assets to move to get him. But I don't know why they would be chasing him. I don't know. How old is Oladipo now? I don't even know how old he is.
Late 20s, I think, right?
26, I think. I'm not sure, though.
Yeah, he could be.
Because I believe he was 11 when he came into the league.
11.
Yeah. Been around forever. 28 now.
28, okay.
28, okay. So, yeah, I mean, so he 28 is sort of peak age, I guess, for some players. But, I'm sort of with Dan there. I don't think he'll be traded. And if he did, I'm not sure where he would go that would actually increase his fantasy value.
I hope he doesn't go, because I love watching him. I know, he'd have to re-sign with Houston after this year. He's on a 1-year deal right now, but I would just like to see how it works with Wall and Oladipo and Wood as the core. I think I do. Unfortunately, PJ Tucker's one of my all-time favorite players. I just love his grit. He went to Texas. I love the dude, so I do think he gets flipped, though. So I think he'll go eventually. Hey, look, we got a Knicks fan here saying Kevin Knox and a first from the Knicks. That's not a bad deal. I don't think that'd get it done, but that's not a bad deal. I might take that if I'm Houston, but I want to see how it works out. So I hope you guys are right. But that's going to wrap it up for us today. Adam, thank you for joining us. I mean, it couldn't have been shorter notice. It was like, I was like, hey, we're recording this in 20 minutes. Can you join us? And you said, you know what? I'll make it happen. So was it everything that you thought it was going to be?
And more.
Well, thanks for making time. Remember, follow Adam on the Twitter at AdamKing91. What do you have coming up at Hoopball? What are you doing over there?
So we've got we debuted a new show yesterday, which is a sort of a pre-game what to watch for video. It's a video version of what Dan and I and Alan do on Twitter most days anyway. And we just thought that let's add a video element to it, and I think it personalizes it a little bit. So that's going to be rolling out 3 times a week, I think, initially. So I'll be doing tomorrow's version of that.
Excellent. And Danny at Dan Vespris on the Twitter, promote something else. What do you got? What else?
That's what I was going to promo. Yeah, follow me, follow Adam on Twitter. Obviously, follow you as well, Bogman. Lord, my lead. Yeah, this thing's pretty fun, actually. If you guys have seen any of what that is, basically it's, sometimes there are 9-10 games on a card, and it's really hard to follow everything at the same time. So the what to watch for segment is basically just a quick hitter. This is where you want to focus your energies. These are guys that might jump over the cut line. These are things that could impact your fantasy team, and you can be ready for them before you're checking box scores at the end of the night, before you're doing a recap the next morning. Just get a jump on your league, especially if you have a lot of leagues going too, or you're trying to balance stuff in a bunch of different places. So that's a lot of fun. The Hoopball YouTube page is, I believe it's just Hoopball Media. But if you follow us on Twitter, we'll be promoting it rampantly tomorrow and anytime it's happening. So yeah, I'll double promote that same thing.
Well, also, follow Jonas Nader at Jonas Nader.
Yeah.
His article, I believe, comes out every Sunday. It's either Sunday evening or Monday morning for the week ahead. And he does AMAs on his on Twitch every week on Tuesday. So just follow him at Jonas Nader to get all that good stuff. Follow me at Bogman Sports, and please check out the In This League Patreon, patreon.com/ITL Army, where we're doing all kinds of stuff. I'm putting the final touches on my fantasy baseball rankings for this season. The Welsh has got his 500 prospects list, where I do 2 live streams a week most weeks. I only get to 1 this week, but we've got secret shows, we've got group me rooms, we've got all kinds of stuff going on over there. So please check it out if you would, and have a great week, everybody. We will see you next week. Take it easy.